right. First Metal Monday after Easter. How you doing, Brett?
The 45th Metal Monday. No, we're not that deep into the year yet. Sometimes it feels like it, but.
This year's just cruising, though. We're past, we're already in the second quarter.
Yep.
Copper's rebounding.
Yep.
You mentioned earlier when it was running real hard, you almost
I'm gonna call
text me to talk shit.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm gonna come get my money from you. That
got-
$5 copper.
yeah.
I've got a chance.
$100 bet? Is that what we're at? All right.
Yeah, I've got. All I'm saying is that I've got a chance. If the window is kind of tight, but I've got 2 weeks almost.
You need
Just
20,
shy of 2
you need
weeks.
about 20 cents.
Yeah.
Right? 20, 25
And fuck,
cents.
if it makes 10-cent moves in a day,
It can.
I can get.
We've seen
there.
it do crazier. I've seen it go up quicker and fall faster.
Yeah,
So,
I know. You and me both.
and platinum, palladium, they
Yeah.
look like they're finally moving. Which we talked about this last week, and feels like those things should be moving higher. Due to
I think the stars are aligning. We were discussing this earlier, but the stars are aligning. I mean, you've got some of those sanctions coming into effect. It's going to be harder to purchase, really any Russian material off the LME. If the Chinese economy opens back up, they're what? They buy 30. They said 30+% of the world's palladium goes to China. I mean, which means that through the car manufacturers and whatnot. I mean, if the Chinese economy is strong, getting stronger like that, the numbers printed this morning, then we'll see. We'll see what.
Well, that's what's giving copper the love today, right?
Yep.
Is the China number. That's what I read this morning. Is
100%.
Their recovery has been better than most people anticipated.
Well, and they've still been. I mean, technically speaking, like there's a lot of that country that's still been fairly locked down and not really been able to produce like they can. So, I would anticipate this to be, a fairly strong market for the PGMs. Base metals should perform, but we'll see. Copper obviously was looking pretty decent this morning. So
Copper's looking good. All the other base metals, your aluminum, nickel, all those were looking, not a lot of movement, but looking strong.
yeah,
And I think all this, what's going on, where you see this, some things not just take off like a rocket ship. And we've talked about this before, but I think it's actually good to see this ebb and flow. It makes me feel better, even like the iron market. We've seen this before where it runs so hard and it crashes. And it crashed on everyone. Where you see some up and down months and where you get some people bent because they think it should be up, but maybe it's actually a good sign because we're going to have more of a steady market throughout the rest of the year and not some crazy ups and the huge down. So
steady climbs.
Yeah, that's how I'd rather see it, and that way we're not stuck with material or any other scrapyard out there. That way we can better take care of our customer, have more faith in the market holding on. Then you can take care of some of your customers.
I feel like the best way to be consistent in our business, especially on your pricing, is if you can get all the material you bought for that month out that month. Like that's fairly
the
impossible most for non-ferrous sometimes if you're trying to build out loads. But if you can, even on the ferrous side, like what we've been really striving for the last couple months, especially because the market's been good, is trying to get as much material out that we bought that month. Because as flows increase, if your flows increase that month, then your production's got to increase and your shipping's got to increase to match it, right? So it's always tough to balance because if your flows start increasing, you're buying more scrap than you bought in a while because, like in Idaho, it's starting to be spring. Today's going to be a beautiful day. The rest of the week's supposed to cool down, but we're not that far away from 80, 90, like real good
it's gonna get crazy
weather,
if
right? If the pricing holds. So, like, we have to figure out as a company, how the fuck do we get that material, extra material we're buying, crammed through the system, like whether it's sheared, cut, baled, whatever it is, boxed, and get it through at the price you're buying it, or at least close so you don't get hung, and we
make sure your buyers are buying it correctly to the way your production team is selling it.
Yeah.
That's another struggle I guarantee every scrapyard in the country has sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's where the communication becomes so vital, so important, and you really can build your team if you can teach your buyers and your production to work together. Like, hey, Are you guys belling this with your 3000 series? Where's this going now? And then you could adjust on the fly, because sometimes that communication doesn't happen, and if one or the other is off, it could really fuck some deals up.
And owning your transportation, man, like owning your ability, like whether you have owner-operators or they're your trucks and trailers, your rail cars, whatever it is, whatever your means of outbound transport is, your ability to own that, do that, and perform, I think in this industry for a lot of years kind of got, pushed by the wayside. There's extra trucks, there's extra, opportunity. But I think that right now, I mean, people are starting to realize, like, your ability to own your transport and your ability to, like, move your material is absolutely crucial. If I was ever
that's what Adam said too, right?
Yeah, if I was ever a scrap consultant, like one of these guys that travels around and tells people how to run their shit, I'd say, first things first, can you move your own scrap? Can you move all the scrap you bought this month? Do you have
Would that be number one? Now I'm curious.
It's pretty close.
It would be up top
it's really
three.
Close.
It'd be top
it's
three.
100. I mean, it's because the reality of it is, like, your ability to buy it is great. But what affects your ability to buy scrap, and you know this as well as anybody, your ability to go get it nowadays. It doesn't just come to you, right? So not only when you say own the outbound transport, but owning the inbound transport is just as crucial in my book, right? So transport, your ability to do that, your ability to own that component of your business is, I mean, it's got to be like 1A, 1B, 1C. Like, it's right in there. In my book, I
agree 100%, because I think that's where in a scrap company, you got different people doing different roles, and everyone assumes that what they're doing is the most important thing. If you can really step outside of yourself and your role, take the blinders off of yourself, and even if it's not 100% true, if you just pretend what they're doing is equally or more important to what you're doing, it will really, like, change your perspective. And then you could be like, oh, the outbound trucks are just as important as my scrap trucks coming in, because everyone's got different duties and different
So, like, 1A for you is like, and we've had this conversation, is people. Like,
people, culture. 1A is the customer, the material coming in is 1A, usually in my book. But if I can also understand that production team is 1B, but to them that's 1A on getting it out, then I'm not going to go fight with the production team and create some fucked up culture in our own yard, because for me 1A is going to always be culture.
Yeah, your own
right
people.
Above. And because that just kind of brings everything involved.
Your own people.
And then after that, like, boom, 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 boom.
Like your own people.
Yep.
Then your customers.
Yep.
In your transportation abilities.
Yep.
Like, if I had to really, like, narrow it down, that's how I'd... Because at the end of the day, if you don't take care of your own people, they're not going to take care of your customer. So it really doesn't do any good to say, my customer's the best, my customer's the greatest, if I'm not even taking care of our own people first.
Yes, you have to.
Because they're the front-facing people, whether it's your truck drivers or your sales staff, your office staff, your production staff that's probably getting that first touch with your customer. So if they're jaded or if they don't like what the hell they're doing, it does you no good to say, yeah, we're customer first. Like, not really. Like, I feel like you got that shit backwards.
You have to go that first.
Yeah.
Well, if we ever get into consulting, you heard it.
Anybody wants some consultants? We're kind of busy, but maybe you give us a couple years and we'll go on the consulting tour.
Yeah.
Well, all right, let's make it happen, Captain.
All right, have a good week, everybody.
All right, take care.